to Jennifer Surusik's OD&C library, very rough draft. The whole point of this is about connecting people and processes with change. In this executive summary, you will hear more details, not during the rough draft, about connections of people and processes. This is also where I will discuss core beliefs. I firmly believe in pulling the best out of people for the common purpose and getting the best work done where all people are in a win-win situation. Again, rough draft, more details to follow later. Brief description of my career path thus far. I was a student of biology and natural sciences. I did end up teaching. I pursued my Master's of Educational Leadership. I taught health and science at some very high-risk locations. At that point, I decided to move on and work at a for-profit collegiate college as a career services advisor, no longer teaching a subject matter, but working on developing their social skills and preparing people for their career paths. And then at that point, I was recruited into a home care company for a talent management coordinator position, which is where I am currently. My dream job at the current moment is to be the Director of Retention and Employee Engagement. I do love the company I work for. We have a great goal and common purpose in serving the elderly and assisting them to stay independent in their homes for as long as possible. I do enjoy the people I work with. I feel that I am outgrowing my current position. I would love to stay there and just do more of the Director of Retention and Employee Engagement. I'm very good in that space, and I would like to do more of that and work my way away from the recruitment space. The experience I have thus far that allows me to move into the Director of Retention role is that I am currently our retention coordinator. It is a smaller portion of my job. It is the part I've always enjoyed the most. I'm also our culture and our wellness coordinator. Some of the leadership skills that I have that would allow me to move into the Director of Retention role are that I do lead strategic leadership meetings across all of Ohio. I do that on a weekly basis in a minimum of 4 locations. And I also am responsible for instituting new programming, whether it be culture, whether it be creating the entire wellness program, and I'm also asked to give input on several other programs that exist throughout the company. What would make me more of a viable candidate for the Director of Retention role is to be able to have more of a hand in the strategic planning. Like I said, my input is asked on several big ticket items. I am not always involved in the conversation after my ideas or input is asked. Some of the leadership skills I believe that would allow me to close the gap to becoming the Director of Retention is to have more strategic involvement with the executive leadership team. I get to have an input. I don't always get to have a follow-through. This is where I would include information on my toolkit on how I would use my portfolio to land the perfect job. I honestly had a very hard time narrowing down exactly what I am supposed to include here. I have done a lot of projects in the past that I think could be viable in this space. I'm currently working on a lot of projects that I think I could talk about here. I'm hoping after this weekend I could have a more streamlined information for this slide. Evidence that I would use to support my portfolio. I'm very systematic. Anyone who's worked with me on a project before knows that I am kind of a nerd. I do like to have both physical and digital files for everything. I have had many a computer shut down on me before, and I don't always trust to save them digitally or on a jump drive. I do handwrite a lot of notes and I do print a lot of things out, and like I said, people who've worked with me before know I do keep both forms of information, both physical and digital. I do catalog everything, every class we've ever taken. I have kept a folder for, specifically for our EMOD class. I have a folder for every class we've taken, and every piece of research or every piece of writing I've performed, I've kept either the research digitally or I have printed out whatever information I've had to submit for a grade. So if ever I want to look back at the end of the program, I have things already categorized by the class. Like I said before, I am kind of a nerd and I will own that 100%. I wasn't sure exactly, since this is the rough draft, what we were supposed to include here. I do use Google Drive a lot, both for the teams and for myself. We have used numerous versions of online meetings and conferences. I do, like I said, keep things on jump drives and on Google Docs for myself, but as far as technologies we are using within the program, I wasn't sure what else to include here. So since this is a rough draft, I'm not 100% finished with this slide. Emerging method. I have some strong thoughts on what I would include in this point. A lot of my theories that have emerged from our affinity diagram and our mind map are centered around connectedness. I believe that people and processes are intertwined, just like nature. People and processes cannot be disengaged from each other. If you are discounting people when you are creating processes, they will fail. If you are thinking solely about people when you're creating processes, that will fail to be successful as well. So I just need to spend more time in putting words to what I have swimming around in my head. I guess the goo would be a good word for it. I'm hoping again after this weekend I will have better verbiage to put here. I apologize for anyone reading this or listening to this because it's a rough draft. I apologize. There's not more to look at. Here is my summary. I would review at this point, if this was not a rough draft, I would review how I got to this point, what I need to do to move myself forward, what I have learned thus far and how I would use that information to propel myself, and then how I would use this information to be successful in landing my future job, how I would use the portfolio to assist in that process. And then once again to review my methodology that is emerging from my own personal viewpoints on OD. And to close, I found it appropriate that as a student of biology, it is, of course, Charles Darwin who stated this. It is not the strongest of the species who survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one most adaptable to change. Spoken like a true scientist. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that that wasn't too confusing, and I do apologize for this being a rough draft. Not everything was filled in for you. Please let me know if you have any questions. My information was at the front on the first page. Thank you.